press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Adda 247. बेल आइकन दबाइए, अड्डा 247 की सारी नोटिफिकेशंस पाइए. अड्डा 247, गवर्नमेंट जॉब इन योर पॉकेट.
Hi friends, and welcome to the editorial analysis of today. Well, this is the English version, so let's take a look at the motivational quote that we have here for you. Do not underestimate the determination of a quiet man. So somebody might seem very quiet, somebody might seem not making a lot of noise, but then again, if somebody is quiet, that does not mean that that person is not determined to achieve something, or that person is not going to achieve something great in life. So always make sure that you do not underestimate the determination of a quiet man. A quiet man is also a very dangerous person and can also be a very potent threat if you try to think that he is not a threat at all. So never ever underestimate the determination of a simple and quiet man. Okay guys, now let's take a look at the e-paper that we have here for you. So Tibet is not a car. Now this is the first article that we have here today. It's a very important article from IR point of view and also from UPSC and other state exams point of view. So definitely we are going to take a look at this particular article, and left over here it's given a first step. So this particular article is actually about the National Health Protection Mission, my dear friends, and it's a very it's a very important article, that's for sure. So all those of you, all those of you who have got various examinations, whether it's whether it's the UPSC exam or any other exam, it's a very important article. So you should analyze this one for sure. It's also a very special article for the MBBS aspirants. Now coming down, my dear friends, so here's another article for you: Donald Trump and the art of breaking a deal. So perhaps after Donald Trump has come into power, the USA has actually broken a number of deals, including the Iran peace deal, and also he also he walked away from the Paris Peace Pact. So perhaps this is the person who is actually responsible for the USA breaking a number of deals. So this article, it actually covers his style of leadership of the US presidentship. So it's a good article for the various UPSC exams, and I'm sure that you will find this interesting as well. At left over here, or at your right rather, we can say, rising risk is given. See, it's a financial article and a very important one for banks, insurance and other financial exams as well. So that is why we are going to take a look at this. We are going to analyze this article as well. Now, my dear friends, let's take a look at the other one. So this is the Araku Valley's dark secret. It's a very special article today, and I'm pretty sure all those of you who all those of you who are from South India, or in fact it's a very good article, and I think the South Indians must read this for sure. And all those of people who do not belong to South India, they should also read this, because this is a good article, and this will actually bring you knowledge about some of the very important problems that exist in the Eastern Ghats, of our nation. So this is something that is actually a very important article for all of us, my dear friends. Now, so guys, let's come back to the center screen once again. And now, so as we are back to center screen, we are going to, let me just tell you that we are going to analyze our first article of the day. Now, the first article of the day will be a financial article. So all those of you who want a financial article in order to understand the same, so that you can practice the same, well, here is the financial article for you. Let's see that. So rising risks. Now this is the first article. So let's see what this article is about. As the US continues to reach benchmark rates, India should take precautionary steps. So the USA, by the way, the US Federal Reserve, pretty much like the RBI over there, it's going to raise the benchmark rates, and when it raises benchmark rates, definitely sea waves in the field of finance, they actually start in all around the world. So perhaps once again, this can be some danger brewing for India. So India should be prepared for the rise of the rates. Now, the US Federal Reserve continue to slowly pull away the punch bowl as the party gets going. This week, the Fed raised its benchmark short-term interest rate by 25 basis points to 1.5 to 1.75%, the highest in a decade. So perhaps, the US Federal Reserve seems to be actually somebody, it seems to be more like a, a dog in the manga, perhaps, somebody who is always destroying each and everything whenever somebody is in a celebratory mood. So perhaps this week the Feds, by the way, raised the benchmark rates in the short-term interest rates by 25 basis points to 1.5 to 1.75% of the highest, by the way, in the last 10 years in a decade. Now, while this is only the 6th rate increase since the financial crisis of 2008, which pushed central banks to cut interest rates to historic lows, it portends further increases in global interest rates. So, this is also another fact, this, by the way, this rate increase is only the 6th one since the financial crisis of 2008 that came a decade ago, which, by the way, that, increase, that particular financial crisis of 2008 pushed central banks all across the world to cut interest rates into historic lows, by the way. And this one, this step, by the way, of increasing of rate by the Feds, it actually portends. Portend means to foretells what's going to happen in the future, okay? To tell something what's going to happen in the future, to predict something. So it portends further increases in global interest rates as well. So since the US Federal Reserve has raised the rates, now definitely global interest rates across the world is going to rise as well. Now, let's understand more over here. Higher borrowing cost could squeeze both markets and the wider economy, okay? So perhaps when there will be higher borrowing costs, then definitely both the markets, whether at domestic and international level, are definitely going to, get squeezed a lot. So perhaps not, and in fact a lot of money is going to flow out of it. The wider economy is going to get affected as well. So if its dot plot projections are considered, the Fed under its new chairman Jerome Powell, who chaired the Federal Open Market Committee meeting for the first time on Wednesday, is expected to raise rates 2 more times in 2018. So perhaps this is just the first rate increase. All right, so perhaps this might be the first major rate increase in this year. And you know what, in the same year, at least 2 more times, once again, the rates can be increased by the US Federal Reserve. Now, you should note down the name over here. Chairman Jerome Powell. She is, by the way, the chairman of Federal Open Market, and she is the, she is the head or the chairman of Federal Reserve. Her name might be asked in any of the examinations, so do note down her name. It's Jerome Powell. All right. And she, by the way, chaired the first Federal Open Market Committee, meeting for the first time on Wednesday. All right. Now, so guys, now let's see question number 1 that we have here for you, and then we'll come back to this article. So question number 1 right here for you. Okay. So, what is the synonym for the word potent? Now, I did tell you the meaning of the word potent, so you have to tell me the synonym of the word potent from the options of reality, predict, factual, and past. Now, past means something which happened in the past, does not exist in the present, may not happen in the future. Factual means something regarding facts, alright, based on facts. Predict means to try to foretell something, what is going to happen in the future, to foretell that. Reality means what happens for real, based on facts, that's reality. So guys, I think till now you would have answered the question. Till now you would have told us the synonym for the word potent. See, it has to be option number 2, predict. So you can write in the comment section, potent equals to predict, potent equals to predict, because both potent and predict means to foretell what's going to happen in the future. So potent equals to predict. Okay. Now let's come back to the article once again. E-paper please. So, now we just read what happened, by the way, and how many more times the rate may rise in the future. Let's know more about this article. And with the American economy projected to grow at a fairly healthy clip amid quickening inflation, to increase in the Fed's discount rate are expected to gather pace over the next 2 years. Alright, so this is the point over here, my dear friends. Now, the American economy is projected to grow at a fairly healthy clip rate. All right, but then again, there's also a quickening inflation that's happening, and the increase in the Fed's discount rate, by the way, is expected to gather some momentum, to gather some pace, to happen more quickly over the next 2 years as well. Now, as the Fed and the other global central banks move towards normalizing monetary policy, the impact on the wider credit market is actually slowly beginning to show. Now, since the Feds and also the other global central banks move towards, go towards normalizing the monetary policy of the respective nations, the impact and the effect on the wider credit market is definitely slowly beginning to show as well. Now, let's understand more over here. So this is particularly so in the case of interbank lending market, which is directly influenced by central banks to affect interest rates across the board. So the London interbank offered rate, which is the rate at which the international banks lend each other, serves as a benchmark for lending rates, has risen for more than 30 consecutive sessions and is at its highest since the financial crisis. So now, the case, by the way, of that all the central banks around the world are definitely going to take a look at the monetary policy, and this effect, by the way, is showing as well. So it's beginning to show. This is particularly so in the case of interbank lending market rate as well. All right. So which is directly influenced or affected by the central banks to affect the interest rates across the board. The London interbank offered rate. Now that is the rate at which international banks lend to each other, provide to each other, and serve as a benchmark or the main standard for lending rates. That has risen for more than 30 consecutive sessions, one after another, and as its highest, since the financial crisis that happened in 2008. Now, its effect, by the way, the effect of the same has spilled over into the markets, including the corporate debt market. So the effect of this particular London interbank offered rate rise, by the way, has spilled over into other markets as well, including the corporate debt market. So that's the point over here. Now, my dear friends, let's understand more over here. Let's see what's given in this second part of this article. But before we do that, let's take a look at question number 2. So, which of the following is not true according to para 1? So, you have to judge whether the following is not true according to para 1. Now, statement A is, this week, the Fed reduced its benchmark and short-term interest rate by 25 basis points to 1.5 to 1.75%, the highest in a decade. All right. Then the second point is, with the American economy projected to grow at a fairly healthy clip amid quickening inflation, the increases in the Fed's discount rate are expected to gather pace over the next 2 years. Then statement C is, the London interbank offered rate is the rate at which international banks lend to each other and serves as a benchmark for lending rates. So perhaps, I think, see, if you simply have to get the answer over here, you need to take a look at all the options really very well. So option number 1 is only A, option number 2 is only B, option number 3 is only C, option number 4 is only A and C, and option number 5 is only B and C. Now keep in mind that you have to tell which of the following is not true. Now, if you'll think about having which of the following is not true, statement A that says, this week the Fed reduced its benchmark short-term interest rate by 25 basis points is the best option to get the answer over here. That means, my dear friend, 2-1, only A is your answer, and I hope you wrote the same in the comment section as well. Now, let's go back to this e-paper and let's understand more about this. So, rising rates amid improving global economic growth could adversely affect the capacity of private firms to service their own debt. The risk of default by private borrowers has been flagged by various organizations, including the International Monetary Fund last month. So perhaps, the rising rates, the constant increase in rates, amid in between the improving global economic growth could actually very badly affect the capacity or the ability of private firms to service their own debts. Now, this risk of default by private borrowers has been flagged or has been marked by various, or in fact has been noted by various organizations, including the International Monetary Fund as well, which did it the same last month. Now, let's understand more. So it is after all no secret that private corporations attracted by ultra low interest had heavily loaded up on debt over the last few decades. So by the way, it is absolutely out in the open that private corporations attracted by low interest rates and heavily loaded up on debt, by the way, over the last decade or the last 10 years. Now, some companies borrowed heavily from across the borders, thus making them prone to exchange risks as well. So there have been some companies which borrowed heavily from across the borders, thus making them prone or, very habitual to exchange rate risks as well. So that's the point over here. Now, guys, let's take a look at question number 3 that's given over here. Let's see about that. Now, what's the correct synonym for the word reminiscent? The options are forgetful, obvious, futuristic, nostalgic. So what do you think, my dear? What exactly is the synonym for the word reminiscent from these options? Well, forgetful means when you forget about something. Obvious is definitely, it definitely means something which is very quite clear, all right, quite factual and quite clear. That's pretty obvious. Futuristic means something which is going to happen in the future most probably, and nostalgic is more like when you recall something from the past. So I think you would have given your answer right now. It's, option number 4, nostalgic. See, reminiscent equals to nostalgic. Write down in the comment section. Reminiscent equals to nostalgic. Reminiscent equals to nostalgic, because both reminiscent and nostalgic mean almost the same thing as recalling something or recalling a past event. Okay, guys? Now let's come back to the e-paper once again. Now, any widespread default on debt today would be reminiscent of the 2004-2006 period when the Fed's raising of rates to tackle inflation led to a mass default on the US mortgage debt. Global markets on Friday witnessed a steep sell-off, what that was immediately linked to President Donald Trump's recent decision to impose new tariffs on China. So now, see, any widespread default on debt today, by the way, would actually be, a recalling of pretty much like recalling of the past of the 2004-2006 period when the Fed's raising of interest rates to tackle inflation, to handle inflation, led to a mass default on US mortgage debt. So that's the point over here. Now, global markets on Friday also saw a very steep, sell-off that was immediately linked to, definitely linked to the President Donald Trump's recent decision to impose new tariffs on China, by the way. So now let's understand a little more over here. Trade wars clearly have a negative impact on global growth and corporate earnings, but the wider sell-off underway since February can also be linked to rising interest rate, which adversely affects asset price. All right, so perhaps trade wars definitely can have a negative impact on global growth, that's for sure, and corporate earnings as well. But the wider sell-off, all right, sell-off since February, by the way, can also be linked itself, can also be linked to the increasing interest rates, which adversely or badly affects asset price. India, which could be hit by fund outflows as overseas investment looks homeward to benefit from the rising rates, would do well to take precautionary steps. So perhaps India definitely needs to take some precautionary steps, because the investors, the overseas investors, the American investors who are invested in India may take the money out and go back to investing in America since the rates have increased. So since they can see a better rising rate, so they might take out money from India and go back and invest the same in USA. So definitely, India should take some precautionary steps over here. Now, having said that, let's see what question number 4 holds us for us. So, which of the following is according to para over here? So, statement A is rising rates aimed at improving global economic growth could adversely affect the capacity, by the way, of private firms to service their debt. Now, that's statement A for you. Then statement B over here is for you. Any widespread default on debt today would be reminiscent of the 2004-2006 period when the Fed's raising of rates to tackle inflation led to a mass default on US mortgage debt. Then, statement C is trade wars clearly have a negative impact on global growth and corporate earnings. Okay. Now, what do you think is the correct answer over here? You have to judge the true statement. Statement option number 1 is only A, option number 2 is only B, option number 3 is only C, option number 4 is only C and A, and option number 5 is only B and A. Now, see, since you have to choose one correct statement, so let's take a look at all of these statements as well, once again properly. So, no, we do not need the e-paper. Thank you. Let's go back to the PPT. Thank you. So, rising rates aimed at improving global economic growth could adversely affect the capacity of private firms to service their debts. Now, is this true? What do you think? Yes, it is true. Statement B says, any widespread default on debt today would be reminiscent of the 2004-2006 period when the Fed's raising of rates to tackle inflation led to a mass default on US mortgage debt. Is this also true? Yes, it's true. Statement C says trade wars clearly have a negative impact on global growth and corporate earnings. Is this true? Yes, this is also true. So, my dear friends, what you should write in the comment section is 4- all are true. Alright, so you should write in the comment section all are true, because that will be the answer for your question number 4. I hope, guys, that you got the theme of this particular passage over here. You were able to understand this passage in a better way. Now, let's see what do we have here in the next passage that's there in this today's article. So, Tibet is not actually a card. So, let's understand more. Why is it being said like this? India must refresh its overseas China policy and its domestic engagement with the Tibetan community. So, definitely India must refresh both its China policy and also the connect with the Tibetan government. Let's understand more over here. Now, the government's bid to ease tensions with China has been met with some criticism, particularly over a leaked memo to officials telling them to stay away from events that commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Dalai Lama's 1959 flight to India. This has led to cancellation of several public events related to Tibet. So, now the government has tried its best to ease tensions with China, and the trial, by the way, the way in which the government tried to ease tensions has been criticized, by the way, especially over a leaked memo to the officials which was to inform them to stay away from events that actually celebrated the 60th anniversary of the Dalai Lama's 1959 flight, or coming to India, by the way. This has led to the cancellation of several public events related to Tibet. So that's the point over here. Now, much of the criticism stems from the perception that the government is attempting to appease China by giving up its Tibet card. All right. So a lot of criticism, is coming out from the perception or from the idea that the government of India is trying to appease China by giving up its Tibet card. Now, at this particular point, I'd want you to take a look at question number 5 that we have here for you. So let's see question number 5. Now, so what exactly is the antonym for the word appease from the options of assuage, blunt, mitigate, or aggravate? Well, assuage means to calm somebody down. Blunt, once again, something which is not very sharp. Mitigate means to lighten the mood or lighten something. Then aggravate means to increase something, all right, perhaps to make something worse. See, appease means to calm something down, so the antonym of it has to be aggravate. And by the way, and I hope that you wrote the same in the comment section. You type the same in the comment section, and you can also type the same. You can also type in the comment section, appease equals to calm down. Appease equals to calm down, because appease means to calm down and aggravate is its antonym. So write in the comment section, appease equals to calm down. Now, let's go back to the e-paper to see the article once again. So, clearly, giving in to China's aggression on the subject is the wrong pretext to nuance its Tibet policy, as the government has said when the Dalai Lama goes within India is a sovereign issue. So perhaps, very clearly giving in to China's aggression or bowing down to China's aggression on the subject is actually definitely a wrong perception to the idea its Tibet policy, as the government very clearly said that wherever Dalai Lama goes within India is actually it's a sovereign issue. All right, it's the issue of India itself. Now, however, the big error may be for the government to be using Tibetan refugees in India as a card in its relations with China. However, the main error, the main wrongdoing that India might be doing is by using the Tibetan refugees in India as a way to handle its relationships with China. Now, let's understand more. So, deteriorating ties, or so perhaps something which are getting poor. To begin with, ties between New Delhi and Beijing have deteriorated over the past few years for a number of reasons unconnected to the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan population in India. By the way, there have been a number of reasons why the relationship between India and China has gone sour over the past few years, even if we remove Dalai Lama and Tibetan population from the card. Well, border incursions, including the standoff at the part of Doklam claimed by Bhutan, India's strategic shift in line with the US Indo-Pacific pivot that targets China, China's deep pocket inroads into South Asia, and differences on the international stage, including over the nuclear supply group, membership, and terror resignations to Masood Azhar. Now, if you take a look at why exactly the relationship between India and China has gone sour. There are various issues, even if we put Dalai Lama and Tibetan population aside. Now the issues are border incursions by the Chinese soldiers again and again, and also the standoff, the 70-day standoff between Indian and Chinese army at the territory of Bhutan, by the way. And perhaps India's international strategic shift in line with US's Indo-Pacific pivot that actually targets China, China's deep pocket inroads into South Asia, and the differences on the international stage as well, including over the nuclear supplies, group membership, and the terror designations to Masood Azhar. Now, let's understand a little more over here, perhaps. So, it would be simplistic, it will be very simplistic to assume that these problems would go away if India were to make the Tibetan community and its leader less visible. Therefore, while it is a mistake to play every visit to Dalai Lama or official meeting with the leader of the Tibetan government in exile, Lobsang Sangye, as a challenge to China, it is equally ridiculous to portray structures to the activities as a peace offering to Beijing. So that's just the way that that you cannot think that no matter if you just try to limit something, if you try to limit the movement of the Dalai Lama, if you try to put a limit on the Tibetan government, activities, so or rather that's going to appease China. And in the same way, if you also think that, if you make the Tibetan leader less visible, perhaps that might actually reduce the problem with China. No, that's not the way, by the way. So definitely this particular article analyzes how can we improve the aspects, how can we improve the relation between India and China. Now, to understand that further, you may read this article on your own. For us, let's see the Parajumble that we have here for you. So Parajumble right here. So guys, it's a very beautiful looking, a little long though, 8-sentence Parajumble, but a very simple one as well. Now, I think, see, the last statement might not be that visible to you. I'm pretty sure that you will be able to get to the statements. Just try to find out. Let's just say I'll not consider the position of H, but then again, you should try to find the other positions as well. So pause the video and try to find what can be the other, statements for you. Okay, now let's see the order of this Parajumble, please. Okay, guys, so this is the order. See, this is the order of Parajumble. So it starts from F that says the government's bid to ease tensions with China has been met with some criticism. So this is the main subject, the government's bid, the government's trial to ease tensions with China, particularly over a leaked memo to officials telling them to stay away from events. Now, how did the government try to do that? That's given in the statement A. Then statement E says that events that commemorates the 60th anniversary of the Dalai Lama's 1959 flight to India. So that's the exact verb what the subject does over here. Then this has led to the cancellation of several public events related to Tibet. So that adds more information about the previous statement. Much of the criticism stems from the perception that the government is attempting to appease China by giving up its Tibet card. That's the point. Now, then again, H and G adds up. So anyway, I'll give you two, I'll say H and G. I'll consider this correct for all of you, my dear aspirants, but tell me, did you get F to D correct? If you did get that, that's really very good thing to see. Now let's see question number 7 and question number 8 that we have here for you. So question number 7 is right here for you. To begin with, ties between New Delhi and Beijing have deteriorated over the past little years, all right, for a number of reasons. Now, what do you think, which part, first or second or third or fourth, contains the error for question number 7? If there is no error, you can type number 5 in the comment section. So pause the video and try to find the error over here. I hope till now you have found the error. See, it has to be in part 3 because given little over there, now years are countable, like 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, they are countable. So when something is countable, then you use few with them and not little with them. So that is why it should be few years and not little years. All right. Now, looking at question number 8 that says, it would be simplistic to assume that these problems would go away if India was to make the Tibetan community and its leader less visible. So once again, do the same, pause the video and search and think which part of question number 8 has the error, first or second or third or fourth or fifth. All right. So pause the video right now and try to find the error for question number 8. Okay, I hope you pause the video right now. So, it would be simplistic to assume that these problems would go away if India. Now, from here, a condition starts. So, if India is given, so it should be followed by were, since it is a conditional statement over here. So, that's what it should be. If India were to make the Tibetan community and not was to make. That means the error lies in part number 3 for question number 8. So, my dear friends, that's the error for question number 8. Now, we can come back to the center screen, please. So, my dear friends, that was all in today's editorial analysis, and I hope that you loved this analysis. I'd like to apologize to you all for not being able to upload this at the right time because of some, let's just say because of some health issues I had. So, anyway, guys, I hope that you liked the video. Do like the same and also comment your feedback and do share the video with your friends because sharing is caring. So, that was all from me. Peace out.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Adda 247. बेल आइकन दबाइए, अड्डा 247 की सारी नोटिफिकेशंस पाइए. Adda 247 गवर्नमेंट जॉब इन योर पॉकेट.